end of the line.
Hi there. Welcome to Adrian and Ryan's Stories to Tell. This is our third episode of the podcast. That's right. There you go. There you go.
My finger was stuck. Well, I forgot because in Europe they do this for 3. And then
yes,
because of my arthritis, it took a while to get my finger up there.
You are an old bastard.
I know. Thank you for reminding me.
Yes. Well, I can't. I'm not far behind. Yeah.
1 month.
1 month. 1 month. Exactly. So this is our third episode, and glad you're here. This may be your first time, or if you're back, we're glad to have you back. So Adrian Ryan Stories to Tell. We got lots of stories to tell after over 3 decades in music and working together. And so that's what we're doing here on this podcast, sharing that experience, hoping that maybe young folks come in and they learn a little bit about music, and those that were on this journey with us, we're hoping they're along for the ride. And if you follow our social media, which all of the tags are in the description after every episode, we did ask people for a call. If you have posters or photos or news clippings, we'd love for you to share them so we can have them on here. Ryan and I have gone back through our archives, and we have quite a bit of stuff, but when we started this, we didn't know where it would go. So I don't know. I mean, I'm speaking for me, but I didn't really start making sure to collect things until we were in it a bit. And so
I never did.
Yeah, I was always the historian, I guess you could say.
Yeah, thankfully you did this because I did not do this.
So yeah, I went back. Pardon me. I went back through my my collection, and we realized, in the last episode we talked about our first few gigs, and I don't think we had any posters for those.
No.
So no. I mean, that's a good example. If somebody out there has some of that early stuff, send it our way. We'd love to see it.
And we aren't 100% sure about the days of those gigs and the order. I think we basically came down to what we think was the first couple of gigs, and that's what we covered.
I mean, you and I were talking the other day. We think it was around March of 1996, somewhere maybe, that we had the first gigs. And this is we were originally, our first gig was going to be a grad party.
Yeah.
For Mike Gerard. Do you want to tell him a little bit about Mike Gerard? Because you were good friends with him.
I think we should talk a little bit about a recap of the last episode. Then we can get into Mike Gerard and the history. So
that's a good idea. So as far as a recap, we talked about it in the first few episodes, like how Ryan and I met at UW Eau Claire. And pretty early on, Ryan had a vision for starting a blues band.
Yep.
And that's last time we talked a little bit about that process. Ryan had started kind of meeting with people, and he had shared that the first thing he was looking for was a bass player.
Yes.
Right. And so we met Nick Pettis, or you met Nick Pettis through the music program. And that was our bass player. And then Aaron Bray came into the picture as the drummer. And Aaron, we couldn't quite remember if he lived in our dorm in Catherine Thomas or if he was just there hanging out. We think he was there, hanging out with friends.
Well, he was in the music department with me, and I don't remember. I think he may have lived in, what was the dorm next to Catherine Thomas? Was that Putnam?
Putnam, yep, Putnam.
I think maybe he lived there, maybe he lived in KT. I'm not sure, but he was in the music department. We were all freshmen the same year, and I found, I talked when I met Nick. We basically, I believe, right away got a hold of Aaron for the project, and we had the rhythm section right at the beginning.
Yeah. And I just have vague memories of Aaron Bray, meeting him in the dorm.
Yeah.
I don't remember meeting Nick, honestly. So I think you kind of handled that, again, you had that vision, and so you were seeking those folks out. And so we talked about that last time, that I was kind of on the periphery as your roommate, just there and, absorbing all that. So, and then we talked last episode about you were meeting with some folks that could potentially be singers, and that's where our memories kind of you helped me clear it up because I had that fantasy in my mind that I came in and just save the day. Like Randy, our other roommate when we lived on Congress Street. He was in Statesman with you, which is
Yes.
the men's choir at UW Eau Claire. We talked
Yes.
about them last episode. And so Randy was going to potentially be the singer. And then he couldn't make the rehearsal at our house in our living room.
Yes.
And so you said, "Hey, Adrian, these songs, hop in here." And I was crapping my pants. And I ran into your room because shut the door so there was some quiet and like quick wrote out lyrics. And, because again, back then, couldn't Google stuff
No.
necessarily or print off lyrics. So I literally had to hand scratch them out. And we showed a photo last time. I came across the folder, had
You could
all
print
the
them out,
lyrics.
but you had to type them in first.
Yeah, you had to type them in. There weren't the websites you could go
No,
and find
no.
lyrics like there are today. So I quick scribbled out lyrics and sang, and then you had shared last time how you and Nick had a conversation, and you were pretty confident that I was the guy.
Yes.
And
I knew it.
and so then you guys asked me to join the band. I remember we went to the Golden Chair, which we talked about, which is a small
Yes.
club.
Mhm.
There's a beer bar that was on Water
Yep.
Street.
Mhm.
And you guys talked to me about joining the band, which I quickly said, yeah, absolutely. But this is where you and I realized after the last episode we touched on, but we didn't necessarily
Mhm.
really flesh out the name.
Yes.
Like I think we mentioned it briefly, and so just to fill in those gaps, we had talked about your cousins, Noel and Evan,
Yep.
who lived in
Mhm.
Alexandria, Minnesota, and like raving maniacs, you and I would go there for spring break. And I say that because it's so damn cold. In
Yes. It
in
was
northern
really cold.
northern Minnesota. It's kind of northern, right? Is it?
It's in the northern half for sure.
Yeah.
But it's in the kind of the north. It's as you're going from the cities up to Fargo, and you're kind of on the edge of the where the lake country ends and the plains begin. So it gets really, really goddamn cold there. And,
It was it was chilly.
Yeah, it's always, I remember going there a couple times. It was like -40, -50 and something like that, just crazy. And my guitar actually one time got cracks in the
Really?
paint finish because it was so cold in the car. And
That's
one time I was visiting, I can't remember which time it was, but I pulled it out of the case and there was all these like vertical cracks in the back. And I'm like, oh my God, that's cold.
I have to say, your aunt and uncle, saints that they could. I mean, I can't imagine Noel and Evan. Like I said, they had a lot of freedom. Like they're brewing beer. They had that set up in the basement with all
Oh,
the
yeah.
musical instruments. Like they had a huge music collection. I was just telling my fiance the other day the funny story about partying with them
Yep.
and me waking up. This is one of those funny stories. I'm going to out myself for the sake of the audience so they can hopefully laugh at me. And
This
I'm
is
sure
one of
you
my
remember
favorite
this.
stories by the way.
Well, you're going to have to fill it in because all I know is, so we would go there and like it usually, like I said, they brewed their own beer. So we'd often sample that
Yep.
and we loved to
Mhm.
like listen to tunes. Sometimes you guys would jam. We watched Mystery Science Theater. I mean, it was just like,
Awesome.
it was great. It was a great time. And I remember that I seem to recall they made really good sandwiches. Like, didn't we used to make
Oh yeah,
like,
Noel loved sandwiches and
Yeah.
well, he loved cooking in general, but he loved sandwiches and he was a Rembrandt of sandwich making. And
yes,
he
I
always
remember
he always made them really late, like I think 11 o'clock at night or midnight, and yeah, and so that was always a thing where like my aunt would be like she would be hanging out with us too, and that was pretty cool.
Well, and so yeah, so I remember the sandwiches, but on this particular time, I don't know. I think we went there like 2 or 3 years in a row. I feel like
Oh yeah.
I feel like we went there quite a few times. But this one, I mean, we were up late doing our thing, and I ended up staying up late. I think to record. I used to bring tapes, and I would
Yep.
record some of the music they had, and I stayed up late recording and drinking wine. and I came to the next morning on the couch, in my tidy whities, covered in a blanket. I don't know who put it over me. Probably your aunt.
I would say it was probably my Aunt Gail.
I can't. I sometimes think about like this poor woman walking in and seeing me.
I don't know. Maybe she
out.
laughed pretty hard at that one.
Well, I hope. I mean, but I don't know why I was in my underwear. Just you know, but I had like wine stains on myself. And I remember I woke up.
God.
And I think she was like cooking breakfast or something, and I was so mortified. I quick threw clothes on and like snuck into like the spare bedroom that I was supposed to sleep in, and it was mortifying. So kudos to them for being such understanding people, because I'm sure they were like, "Who is this maniac that Ryan is bringing around here?" And in case anyone's worried, I don't wear tidy whities anymore. I don't know what I was thinking.
We were all really worried.
Yeah. But anyway, when we were with Noel and Evan, like hanging out, I think Noel had a book, No One Here Gets Out Alive.
Yep.
That was about Jim Morrison and the Doors. And I was just getting into the Doors. And so I was devouring that book, and he let me keep that. And I still have it, actually.
That is cool.
And yeah, I have it in storage at my parents', but I've kept that book all these years because, I mean, for me, it was a big part of the foundation of the Kingsnakes, because
absolutely,
as I was reading that book, it referenced the song Crawlin Kingsnake, which is a John Lee Hooker song. And I loved John Lee Hooker. And so for whatever reason, it popped in my head, like, that'd be a cool band name. And so I brought that to all of you guys when you had offered me the singing gig, and everyone seemed to like that band name. And that's where the band name came from. So would you agree with all that?
Band name pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, because and this brings us back almost full circle, I think, to Mike Gerard, because as I said, that was gonna be our first gig, because he had a grad party, which would have been in May, I suppose, of '96.
Yep.
And so we were kind of thinking, all right, that's gonna be our first gig.
Yeah.
But then, as we talked about last episode, all of a sudden a gig fell in our lap, and that was the Golden Chair gig, where Caleb came to us and said, "Hey, would you guys open for us?" And that was our first gig. And we think, as I said, we think that was around March of 1996.
We definitely started sometime around March 1996. Maybe that first gig with Caleb at the Golden Chair might have been in April. You know, we don't have any posters, so there's no evidence to say exactly when it was. But the whole timeline, we talked about that last time, and the whole timeline is we went really fast. You know, it was kind of like, I think in a matter of like a month, we went from, forming the band to playing our first show.
Yeah. I mean, I think even less than that.
Probably I mean, a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, because it's like we had that rehearsal where I stepped in because Randy couldn't be there. And then I think it was about less than a week after that, you called me. I was at work, and you're like, "Hey, we got our first gig." And I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And then that night we met out at Mogi's, and we sat down trying to flesh out like what are 10 songs we could do to fill a set.
Yep.
And that we think we maybe had 1 or 2 rehearsals to get ready, and then we had that first gig. And it wasn't long after that we were offered another gig at the Pioneer.
Yep. And unfortunately, we don't have a poster of this either, and that was also with Caleb and friends. I know for a fact Todd Barneson played at that show. That was, I believe, the first time I met Todd Barneson. Maybe for you too.
Yeah.
And because I don't know if he played at our first show in the Golden Chair. Do you remember that?
I feel like he did. Because I think he was part of Caleb's crew there. We were talking last time. We think it was either Caleb and the fellow Pilgrims or Caleb and Friends. Or it had various name changes through the years. But I think Todd was part of that group, I think.
I know. I'm pretty sure. I think, or at least, I don't know if met him is the correct word, but I remember him from the show at the Pioneer. I don't remember him playing at the show at the Golden Chair, but maybe it was just because I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
Because everything was going so fast at that time. for meeting people in the Eau Claire scene, and it just like it was a whirlwind at that time, because it was like every time, we didn't have cell phones, so every time we our old phone rang, it was like, hey, you guys want to play here? And it was kind of a thing where we were just like, oh, I call you up at work, hey, we got another gig. And then, or sometimes like, you'd call up and say, hey, somebody's asked, we're going to play here. Is that okay? And it just went so fast, because we had also, that was when I went to Europe with the Singing Statesman in June of 1996 for 3 weeks. And that was also a pivotal thing in for you for writing songs, which you briefly touched on last time, where you started writing lyrics. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that we have ran into since we recorded the last podcast, which is shedding light on the timeline of what happened, who was involved, which, we know who's involved, but, stuff like
the dates, like when they were
exactly
there.
Memories go, I ran too much, your love.
Well, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Like what we just kind of fell into our lap?
In what respect do you mean?
Well, like I think you're referencing. Are you talking the Facebook page we learned about?
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
Here's as good a place as any as Aaron Bray, our first drummer. He made what did he call it? The Crawlin Kingsnakes Lost Album or something? A Facebook page.
Yeah, the Lost Album, I think it was. Yeah,
and I had never seen it before. Had you seen it before?
No. In fact, I was messaging with Aaron after that, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys were like invited to that." I'm like, "No, this was news to me." So yeah, I had never seen it.
Yeah, I'd never seen it before, and if I had, I forgot it. But I think he created it 15 years ago.
I think so. Yeah,
something around that. I think it was around 2010, 11, something like that.
Yeah, I think it was 2010. Yeah,
and I was shocked because I had forgotten that we recorded a demo.
Yeah, I did too. And well, the funny thing about that, again, we put out that call, hey, if anyone has anything, share it with us. And then Aaron put that in our inbox on Messenger. And I was, just waking up, and I like clicked on it and there was music. And I'm like, oh, and he had labeled it like Albert King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, like, who the artist was. And I was partially waking up, and partially I didn't want to like wake my fiance up. So I had it down kind of quiet, and I'm like, oh, I just like turned it off thinking it was the original artist. And then later you were like, that was us, right? And I'm like, I went back and listened. I was shocked.
I know.
I was shocked.
I went to that page, and I saw the pictures, and then I saw like the, names of like, I think Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King, like you said, and Eric Clapton. And then I clicked on it after like scrolling through and looking at all the pictures, and I'm like, oh, those are cool pictures of us rehearsing. And it didn't dawn at me that those were probably pictures of recording the demo, because those pictures jogged my memory in the sense that I was like, oh shit, yeah, Ron Malecki recorded that demo. I think he had maybe a 4-track there, something a little better quality. Because the mix was surprisingly good for
it was
a living room recording, which we know how most living room recording situations go. But it was surprisingly good, and I was shocked because you and I were messaging back and forth about this, and this was really early on. This was in the first year of the band.
Yeah,
I forgot all about it. And B, I was shocked at the quality of the recording and how good we played. We're playing some tough songs, like Telephone Song from the Vaughan Brothers, which is really a tough song. And we're playing it really good. And then that one Robin Ford song, what was the name of that one?
Start It Up.
Yeah, Nick wanted to play that one. That's a great song. And And then, we had like, but the one thing that shocked me is that we had an early version of Poor Man's Prayer, which was then later on in the first album. And that was the first song that we had written together. And I'm pretty sure, you got the lyrics going on that. And then like you came to me and then I like helped put it together as a song. I don't remember exactly how it went. But that was really cool. And that was a cool first version. So we'll put a link here in the description of the podcast. So you can go take a look at that and hear this stuff. It's really cool. Aaron said he's going to look for the CD and see if, someday maybe we can, somehow put it in the web so anybody can, download it or listen to it or whatever. But in the meantime, you can look at the Facebook page to do that.
I mean, not to toot our horns, but I was like, wow, we were kind of good. Like I said, I just listened to a few seconds and there were no vocals, so I didn't hear. I just heard the music, but I'm like, oh, okay, that's Stevie Ray Vaughan, okay, yeah. But then when you said, oh, that's us, I went back and I'm like, holy crap, we were actually kind of good. I do remember though, Telephone Song. When I realized it was us, I remembered instantly the anxiety I felt about that song because like
it's
trying
really
to
high.
It's high and I was new to singing, in a band. And so I remember every time we would do that song, I'd be like, oh crap, please don't let me like get a clunker of a note here. But we'll put the link in, like you said, and hopefully Aaron can find that CD. But really cool that he did that. And as you said, like we kind of had thought, we never did a demo, and sure, it turns out
I forgot about that, honestly.
Yeah. And
I don't
shout out to Ron. We haven't seen Ron in years, but Ron was kind of like in the early days, I joke, I mean, he was our sound guy, if you will. He would come with us.
He ran sound.
He'd run sound. He would sing sometimes. He loved doing the song Roadhouse Blues, so he used to get up and sing that. And then he was my chiropractor because Ron claims he was going to school for that. I don't know if that's true, but I had this routine where he would crack my neck before every gig because in my mind it was loosening me up. I don't know if that was good for me because all these years later I got neck issues, and I'm not blaming Ron for that because I asked him to do it. But yeah, he was like our all around like utility player. He would do a lot of different things.
Yeah, he was great.
And he's in some of those photos that are on the that page we're talking about.
Yep.
So Ron is in those photos. But yeah, that was a nice surprise from Aaron. And hopefully we can get Aaron on the podcast. And as you've said before, like we want to get more people on here, guests, and talk about their recollections. So hopefully we can get Aaron on at some point.
Oh, it'd be great to get Nick on too. The other person we haven't really mentioned yet in the beginning, and we're both kind of racking our brains. Maybe this person can eventually chime in and tell us when, but Jason Hetherington was our first keyboard player.
Yes.
And we were wondering, like, you and I were like, when did he start? And we're both a little bit like, was he at the Golden Chair gig? He wasn't at the first Golden Chair gig. I don't think
so. I don't think I don't think he was at our first few. We know you and I pieced together that when we finally played that, I don't even think he was at the grad party. I think he was at Mike Gerard's last show.
Yeah, that was the 70s GI show.
Yeah.
We pieced that together through the posters, which we can show a little later. That was definitely that was, I believe, sometime in early July, late June, something like that in 1996.
We remembered it was hot as balls. And
the air conditioning was out at the GI, in which that made, and it was packed. It was like from wall to wall, rafter to rafter, packed, and no air conditioning, and it was like, I don't know, like, 95 degrees outside. And so it was a sauna.
It was. So we think that was when he came into the picture.
He was definitely there because he was. I've got
in those photos.
He's in the picture, and there's pictures of him on stage too. There's one, I think, where you can see you with Aaron Bray and him.
Yeah. And we think, right, that Aaron was kind of our introduction to Hearrington.
I think that was the connection.
I think they were really good buds, and
Yeah.
and was Hearrington. So there was a band called Plaid Goat,
Yes.
and was he in Plaid Goat? I think Hearrington was in Plaid Goat as well.
Aaron Bray was the drummer there.
Yeah.
And
And there was Mark. Mark was the lead singer, and I think
was
Hearrington
he
and
in Plaid Goat, or was that a different band?
I thought it was
Mark,
Plaid
I
Goat.
can't remember his name. I was in Statesman.
Mark B. I think it's B. Mark B. But I don't. Yeah.
God, I can't believe it. I can't believe I ever got his name.
Well, so I think Hearrington was involved with that group, and because
that
he
group
and
of
Aaron,
people for sure.
Yeah.
Whatever band they called themselves at the time, because later on they were in a band too. I don't know if it was Plaid Goat or what it was, but they had another, kind of hippie jam band type thing.
So I think that's how we met Hearrington, and that kind of rounded out the initial early years, the first probably couple years maybe of the Kingsnakes. But so it started with you sought out Nick, and then Aaron, and then I came in as the singer, and then Hearrington joined us probably the summer of '96, to kind of round out that lineup. Does that sound about right?
Yep. And I'm going to share the screen.
And
you
had a little surprise there
picture.
For me. I didn't know you were. Oh, look at you! You got the screen sharing.
I'm throwing you a curveball here, and so
nice.
Here's we think this is gig number 4, and so we think it's gig number 4, or 5. I'm not sure, but
I think 4.
This would have been at what time? And I think the end of I believe we just got back from Europe. The Statesman, we got back from Europe. And then we had the 70s. It was Mike Gerard's last night working at the GI. And then we decided, okay, we're going to have a 70s party and have 70s clothes. And so you can see from the attire that we've got on that it's total 70s stuff going on. You can see we're all sweating.
Except for Nick. I don't know what the hell.
I think you didn't get the memo.
Yeah, so for everyone, Nick Pettis is wearing the hat and the bib overalls. I wouldn't classify that as 70s, but the rest of us got the memo.
But if we, just for to be official here, Adrian's on the left of the photo, okay, and Jason Hearrington, the keyboard player, is next to Adrian there with the glasses, kind of taking off his glasses, covering his face a little bit, and with the sweet beads rolling down. He always had cool threads and cool things like that. And I'm in the middle, and I decided to wear a jean jacket coat in 95-degree weather with no air conditioning. That's why I'm sweating like crazy. And then Aaron Bray had a sweet jacket there, though that was pretty awesome. And you could tell we're all sweating. Then Nick was in his I'm in my pontoon going fishing clothes. And so and that's outside the Grand Illusion, Water Street, and that would have been end of June, early July 1996.
Yeah, I think July. That may have had a date on that poster, because I know there's a poster I sent you that says like Mike Gerard's last night, I think.
Yeah.
It might have a date on it. But yeah, I think this was our 4th gig, and this is a good. So I seem to recall at least that yellow banana looking freaking thing I was wearing. I think I got that at Savers. That used to be our go-to place for what we used to call stage clothes. Like when we wanted to and for me at least, like stage clothes was just any shirt or something that looked kind of wild. And I thought, oh, that's rock and roll, something that draws attention. But I found the
poster. It was June 30th.
There. June 30th. Okay,
and
there it is.
I believe, did you draw that?
Well, the Kingsnakes logo, no. I don't remember who did that, but I seem to recall we had a friend that did drawing, and we're like, we need something for the poster.
It would be really cool to find out who did that.
Well, I also found, and I don't know if I have them with me, they might still be in storage, but somebody had actually done some graphic design, like you could tell with some sort of software back in whatever it was in 96, that just had Crawlin Kingsnakes in like fancy looking cursive or something. But yeah, somebody drew us a few variations of this snake kind of thing.
Okay,
That's my handwriting below it. Like
definitely, you have pristine handwriting.
Well, I don't know about pristine. I've always hated my handwriting, but somebody else did that drawing. But yeah, that was our fourth gig, I think.
Just a question: would that have been Brother?
Maybe. I mean, Brother is an artist.
Yeah, Brother. His name Brian Duerkop.
What's that quote we used to always do? Oh, you're an artist. Paint my fucking house. What's that? I think it was Gene Simmons or somebody said that quote. We used to always say that when somebody would be like, "I'm an artist." You're like, "Oh yeah, paint my fucking house." But yeah, Brother Brian Duerkop was, he still is an artist, and his brother. Hey, brother, this is brother Tony Duerkop. Is an actor, lived out in L.A. for a while. Now he's back in the Eau Claire area. They actually both. I don't know if you know this. They both work at Clancys.
They both do.
Yeah, Brother's been there.
Well, Brother's been there forever. But I did see Tony as well this summer when I was out with Jason Eckes and Brian Brennan.
Well, I was catching up with Brother on the phone the other day, and he mentioned that Tony works there now. So both Duerkop brothers are at Clancys now. So yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, so it could have been Brother. He may have drawn that for us. But I mean, Brother, if you're listening, tell us, or somebody else, whoever, because we have a few variations of that snake. And then, like I said, somebody did some graphic design, fancy like font for us. But yeah, and well, speaking of the posters, I don't know if now you want to talk about it. But like that process cracks me up when I think about what we used to do for the posters. Because Kinko's, we used to go to Kinko's.
Yes.
There was a Kinko's on Water Street, and we would go there to make our poster. And this is a good illustration of we had no clue what the hell we were doing. We were just thrown into the deep end. And me and I'm not trying to one up anybody, but like you at least had been playing in bands. You had some familiarity with the scene.
I had no idea about posters.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'll put that poster back up there. That's a good one.
I was suddenly in a band, and it's like we talked about last episode. Like we're making business decisions because we had suddenly like 2 gigs, house gig offers on the table. Both Hooligans and Pioneer offered us a regular weekly gig, and so we had to figure that out. We were figuring out booking, and then these posters, and we used to go down to Kinko's, and I don't know if you have any of those in your back pocket. I know I sent you some, but
I don't have anything where we kind of printed out. Like I remember, because I had a little bitty laser printer then that sometimes, like when we were more advanced, we'd print out like the words with my printer and then cut them out. And then it was like piecing, what did you call it last time? Piecing together
letter.
Here, a hostage letter.
A hostage letter. Because in the movies where you see they take newspaper clippings and clip out things. That's what we used to do though. We'd and
it was like a ritual because we'd be like, we got to go make posters. And it was like fun. And then we usually went to the Joynt afterwards.
Yes, we would. We'd have to reward ourselves after our hard work. But looking at them now,
for the people not from the Eau Claire area, the Joynt is a bar, and so not something extracurricular. So
yeah, well, that good clarification. The Joynt is definitely a national treasure. It actually gets some national attention. It's a great bar, yeah, we would go there quite often because it was, I think, right next to it or just a couple doors down from the Joynt. The Kinko's was right
a block
there.
away. It was a block away. So it was like if you went by, it was originally a McDonald's and a Taco John's, and then the McDonald's turned into was that a Mexican restaurant or something
El
like that?
Patio.
El Patio. I forgot the name. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But then if you kept going from the Joynt, after McDonald's and then later El Patio, then you ran into Kinko's, and that was a place where you would find either students printing up papers about 10 minutes before they had to hand them in to their professor, like I did for my thesis.
I just never turned them in. I just didn't turn them in. That's why I ended up having to take a little 5-year sabbatical.
Or bands like us piecing together really sketchy, dodgy posters.
Well, every night we're in each other's arms, doing all things lovers always do, yeah. You always kissing and hugging. thinking your kind of love is none of my trouble. Take it easy, baby, you know you done fooling yourself.
We're sitting now, 1996, June. We had, like we said, this was Mike Gerard's last night at the GI, and so we played there. Place was packed. There's some really cool pictures of people that also played with us. And what I want to do is I want to show this one. There's one picture I'm looking for that I just kind of jumped into my mind. Here, I found it.
We're getting all fancy. Like you
yeah, I'm getting fancy here. And no, I don't want to say this too soon, and it doesn't work. But this picture here. Oh, I got it now. Okay. And this was a picture. This is Mike Gerard singing. And I believe, did he sing Roadhouse Blues that evening?
I don't remember, honestly. I honestly don't even remember him singing.
And the person playing bass with the mustache is Dave Fair. He sang in Statesman with us. He was a great musician, a great singer. And it was just a spontaneous sing where Mike got up, and then, I'm playing guitar. And then to the left of me, do you remember who that is?
Is that, what was his name? Brady?
No, not Brady, but Matt Pingle. And his nickname was McWeenie.
Oh, McWeenie.
And he used to live with Jason Eckes, and he was good friends with Brady.
Oh, yeah.
I got to find a picture of Brady. He was one of the best fans of the Kingsnakes of all time.
I think
him and Jason Eckes were always there. So
I actually think I have a photo I'll have to send to you. And the ironic thing is you're wearing a Kingsnake shirt in it. Did I send you that one yet? I'll send that. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he's in it as well. It's behind the bar at the GI. So I don't know if you were bartending or what, but you're wearing a Kingsnake shirt, and I think he's in it, and Eckes is in it, and I'll have to send you that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even remember Gerard singing. I mean, I knew obviously he sang with Statesman, but I didn't remember him sitting in with us.
Here's another curveball for you.
Yeah, that's a good one from that night. Yeah,
that's from that night too. And
wait, is that right next to me? Is that McWeenie right there?
Yep. That's Matt Pingle, McWeenie. Right it'd be to your right, our left if you're looking at the screen. Then to his left, or his right, sorry, would be Sean Veenendahl, also in Statesman. To your left was Leah Horne, and then Jason Eckes, far left, and Mike Butter is kneeling with the cool jacket, and so
that is a stellar jacket.
That's
and
awesome pick. That's an awesome pick.
And Leah would sit in with us quite often. She was a local vocalist. She was in a band called Thought Cloud.
Yes,
and she and I would usually do at least one duet a night for the early days. Anyway, she sat in with us quite a bit.
Yes, she did. What song did you guys sing together? I think there were a couple of songs, but there was one.
I don't know what's wrong with me. That song.
T-Birds. Oh, yeah.
And Kim Wilson and Bonnie Raitt. I believe I'm in love with you.
Oh, that's a great song. I forgot.
And then there was that BB King song, Little by Little. Remember that one?
Who sings that on that album? That's
I don't know, but it's BB King and a female vocalist, and it's Little by Little. I don't remember was it Summit was the name of the album? It was like a duets album that BB King
Blue
put
Summit.
out, I think. Blue Summit, yeah.
Blue Summit was,
yeah. And so we did those two numbers quite a bit. And then Feels Like Rain. We used to do that Buddy Guy tune.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that was a great tune. We did that one as well. I think those were the three that we would rotate and do in the early days. She would get up and sing with us, and it was always fun working with Leah. And to my knowledge, it's been a few years since I've seen her, but she was living in Minneapolis, and still there she is, still playing music. It was an interesting story. Oh, is she? Did she move back to Eau Claire?
I thought she was teaching part-time at the university, and she's doing some stuff with some Eau Claire bands. I forget the name of the band though. I should write this stuff down and getting old but there's another picture from that same day. So.
The the thing about Leah was interesting because she got into singing later in life. I seem to recall, I think it was her husband had passed or something,
Yeah.
and she had said, you know what, I want to get into music. And so she started singing later in life. And that's where I think she and I had that kind of bond where it's like we were both new to singing in bands. And so we would often like commiserate with you. I don't know if commiserate's the right word, but just, give each other little pep talks. And like, she was the one that saved my bacon more than once, where I remember an early gig where the monitors went out. It was at the old lighthouse, and the monitors went out, and I didn't yet know how to control my vocals. And so I was still belting it out. And after the first set, my vocals were shot, and I was just freaking out. And she's like, "Oh, take some ibuprofen." And so that was my introduction to ibuprofen. And
Good old
it's a miracle.
pharmaceuticals.
Well, it's a miracle. I'm and knock on wood, because I used to take like 8 to 10 of those a night while drinking, and it was like to get through gigs. And before I actually got the vocal strength to like not need that, but for the first few years there was a lot of ibuprofen to get through some of the inflammation from singing and whatnot. So
How
that
many
was
times
a
did we
Leah trick.
play Sick as Hell?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, well, I remember you performed once with strep throat. I remember you.
Oh, yeah.
You would. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I mean, well, as a guitarist, primarily, it's not, life or death. Obviously for singing, that's hard. But I remember, I remember one time for some reason, I was out playing catch with a football with my roommate Joe Keppel at the time, when we were living on that house, the big house in the corner by the police station. And
Yeah.
for some reason, we decided we're going to play catch Thursday afternoon before a Hooligans gig, and for some reason he threw the ball and it like landed like right in my middle finger, my left hand, and sprained my finger like a couple of hours before we had to play. And I could not use my middle finger. And it was hilarious because there's a couple of people, like, I can't remember, somebody we knew was in the audience. I think maybe Jason Eckes, and he's like, "Why are you flipping everybody off?" I'm like, "I sprained my finger playing football, playing catch, and I can't move it." And he thought I was like doing it
That's
to
funny.
like to antagonize people. I mean, literally, I was playing guitar like this, and I couldn't move my finger because I sprained it playing football, or playing catch, not real football. But and then like one time, I can't remember, I cut myself cooking really bad on my thumb, and my whole guitar, and like I tried, putting a Band-Aid on it, and I can't remember, I tried everything and it didn't work. And I just had to play it anyways. My whole guitar neck was red from blood, because
That's rock and roll, though.
It would
That's
not
rock and
stop
roll.
bleeding. It just would not
That's
stop
rock and
bleeding.
roll.
And that was one of those things where, it's just like, today, it's so horrible today, the big stars and stuff like that they cancel tours because they, aren't feeling very well and stuff like that. It's total bullshit.
I mean, that stuff, definitely something you instilled in me early on. Like, the show must go on. Like, we rarely, in fact, I don't remember ever canceling a gig until years later in like one of our reunion shows, I think, where I had fallen and like banged up my ribs and was sick, and like that was but that was, I don't think we ever canceled anything.
No, I don't remember canceling anything. Certainly not because of illness. I remember gigs being canceled for us.
Step on out. Well, let your love light shine. Step on out. Girl, you're so fine. Your pretty little baby's plain to see. Step on out and give it to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were just talking about that gig.
I'd forgotten about the would that have been 1996 New Year's Eve?
I think so. I think it was.
Do you want to tell that story?
Oh yeah, sure. I want to be careful. I don't want to incriminate anyone. I can say that you and I were not.
We were not involved
behind this.
We were not involved.
All I'll say is
involved.
The opening band was passing around a joint on stage, and
we won't even say who they are.
Yep, won't even say who they are. And they ended up
But it was pretty
canceling the
dope.
gig. The club owners like stepped in and they're like, all right, that's it. And I was so bummed out. I was so excited because it was going to be a New Year's Eve gig. You know, in Eau Claire, the bars stay open all night. So I'm like, this is going to be all epic. This is going to be a rager. We're going to party, rock stars. And then it's like, we didn't even get on stage. Like, you know, it was the first song or two of the opening act and they shut it down because there was a joint on stage. And it was such a bummer. I think we just went out and got wasted then.
Yeah, but we didn't do it. We honestly didn't do it. There's a lot of stuff we did do, but that wasn't one of them. So, but great stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the.
I do want to emphasize we weren't behind it at all. Just we had nothing to do with the passing of the marijuana on stage. So yeah,
nothing to
be
do.
Clear
nothing
on that.
to do there. So nothing to do.
But
so we talked a lot about the beginning, and we've got a good foundation. Things went quickly. Everything started in March of 1996, and by the time we played the GI gig where I just put up those photos that we have in that poster, that was June 30th, 1996. So within like 3 to 4 months, you know, we had the band rolling.
Because Mike did play a big role in the formation of the band because you were one of his very close friends. You guys were in Statesman together.
Yep.
But I know he approached you about playing his grad party, which would have been May of 96. So talk a little bit about Mike. And then there's a funny story about his grad party we got to tell as well.
I got tons of funny stories about Mike. I don't know if I'll tell them on this podcast, but I sang in Statesman with Mike Gerard, and he was one of the people that, as a freshman in 1992, took me and some other people like Jason Eckes and Randy Conklin, our former roommate too, and a whole group of he was a little older than us. He'd been around the block a couple times, and he took us under his wing and showed us the ropes and showed us how to be Statesmen, and showed us how, you know, to perform, which was also for me very important because it was, you know, we partied a lot in Statesman, but we also had huge gigs where we, you know, just deliver some fantastic music. And I think that influenced for sure me and also the band, you know, because you had to, you know, there's always, you know, when you're done, you can go party all you want, but you got to be ready to play the game and to play your gig. And he was one of the people that influenced me for sure in that way. And then in Statesman, you know, we toured Europe. There are a lot of crazy stories about that, and there are crazy stories on tour in the States, stuff like that as well. It was to be our first gig, but we ended up getting some gigs before that as our first gig, like we mentioned, the one with Caleb Bew and Friends, or Caleb Bew and what was the Pilgrim thing?
The Fellow Pilgrims.
Fellow Pilgrims. I remember him using that name, but I can't remember at what point he was using the name. But I hope Caleb watches that and chimes in, and I'd love to have Caleb on this show too. I think that would be cool. And we had some great legendary stories as well. And so we go to play this graduation party. Mike graduated in May of 96. And there were supposed to be 3 bands on the bill, and this was supposed to be our first show. So we were like, you know, we thought we'd be opening up, and we thought, you know, okay, no big deal, play for 45 minutes an hour, and then, you know, we can go, you know, hit the keg. And what happened, Adrian?
Well, in typical Kingsnakes fashion, it's like it seemed like the universe liked to throw a lot of curveballs at us
every time.
Yeah. So as you said, we thought, we're going to open, and at that point, we'd only been playing a few months, so we had probably less than 20 songs in our repertoire. And day of the gig, it was an outdoor gig at Carson Park in one of those little pavilions.
I think it was Rod and Gun Club.
Yeah, Rod and Gun Club. Yeah, and the other bands couldn't show. Like
last minute,
like the day of we get there, and there's, you know, they're like, oh, by the way, you guys are the only band. And I think one of the band, the drummer, got in a car accident or something, and then somebody else, the other band, they were sick, and so we literally didn't have enough material to fill a whole afternoon of music.
Enough rehearsed material.
Enough rehearsed material. So that was like we were just thrown into the deep end. Like, okay, well, we got to fill basically a day of music.
How many
And
times
so
did something like that happen to us?
it was almost every time. I mean, that became the running joke. Like, we'll talk about like the Horne guys, but like it was always somebody couldn't make it, and we'd have to find a substitute, or there was always some, like, it's like we were always like, all right, what shoe's gonna drop now? Like something would always happen, but I think that taught us to be able to think on our feet, improvise, and we always got it done.
We always got
we
through, and no problem.
We always got through. It was always professional. People always had a good time. Like you were saying, it's not like today where, I've got a cold, I'm going to cancel the gig a half hour before. Like we did it. We figured it out. And so that day, I think we did our normal set. And then I think you got up and did a few things you knew. And then some other guys that were there got up and jammed a little bit.
I think Ron sang a couple songs too.
Yeah, Ron was there and he did a few. And we may have repeated some songs later in the day.
Yeah, I think
we made it work. Like
we got through it.
We got through it. And, it was a fun time, but it was also, this just hit me. Oh my goodness. This is why I love this. This just hit me. I forgot all about this. We'll see if you remember it. So up to that point, so that would have been our third gig, I think, was the grad party.
I think Golden Chair
Pioneer, and then the grad party.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was still a little timid. Like and you used to say, like, dude, just belt that shit out. Like, just feel it. And I still didn't quite know how. And I remember Every Day I Have the Blues. We used to kind of do the Joe Williams version of that song. Mm-hmm. And something hit me that day. Maybe I had enough beers in me. Maybe I was just, and it clicked where I was able to belt it out. And I remember you stopped and were like, whoa. And I was even like, whoa, where the hell did that come from? And from that point on, I knew what you meant about like feeling a lyric. Because you used to say to me, like, dude, you got to feel that. You got to feel that. I remember you used to sit me down and like play a song, like listen to that. Listen to that passion and that,
Like
and
B.B. King.
And Every Day I Have the Blues, B.B. King did that. So, but this was like more the Joe.
Can I tell a quick B.B. King story?
Yeah.
And this is you're talking about my aunt being cool. My dad was cool. They're brother and sister, so obviously they're cool together. But my dad, like I touched on it in the first podcast, but my dad took me to so many cool shows, and he took me to my first B.B. King show, which was legendary. And my cousin Noel was also there. He didn't sit with us. He sat up front, and he waited outside after the show and gave B.B. King a guitar pick from his bike shop where he worked.
And, that's awesome.
Yeah. But the cool thing, my dad took me and Nick Coverman. I think you remember Nick Coverman, right? So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think we were 15, and so we didn't even have our driver's license yet. And so he took us to a lot of shows. Stevie Ray Vaughan, my dad would be sitting in the back of the hippies, and you can infer references as you will here. But we were sitting there in, B.B. King. I'd only heard, I think, live at the Regal and live at Cook County Jail. And those are still two of my favorite absolute albums.
Great albums.
If you've never heard those albums, I don't care if you like blues or not, you got to hear them, especially live at Cook County Jail.
I have that on vinyl. That's a great album.
It's a great album. And I will never forget because Larry McCray opened up. Do you remember Larry McCray?
No, I don't think I know.
He's a Chicago cat. At this time, he had some pretty good traction nationwide, and then I don't know why or whatever, because he was really good. We didn't hear much about him after that, but then I did hear he had something new out, I think, like last year, so he's still around. That's cool. But anyways, check him out if you can. He was good. Yeah, he was really good live. He put on a killer show, open up for BB, and I was like I was 15 or 14, I can't remember. I'm like, BB, he's 69 years old now. He can't hang with this guy. He's old, and then, Larry McCray was really good, really, really good. And BB's band comes out and, he had like a 10 or 11 piece band and they start cranking. And I'm like going, holy shit. They're just like unfucking believable from musician standpoint. And this was at Orchestra Hall in Minneapolis. So a place where normally like operas and classical music those are the kind of things you'd see there. And they play like 2 or 3 songs and BB comes out to every day I have the blues. That's why I just made the connection, you know, and he was larger than life. Literally. He was like bigger than everybody else in the band. He was a big dude, and he was probably like 6'2" and probably, 5 feet in every direction. He was huge. He had this gold sequin coat on that I could have used as a comforter. I'm a big guy too, but that's how big he was, and he's sitting there and his band is just fucking cranking behind him, just ba da 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 da, and his big trumpet player Bobo, he was awesome. He had this huge afro and would just be cranking it until he had to play, and like he would like be super still and just wail on trumpet right on the microphone. BB comes out, crowd's going nuts on their feet. He like walks up, he tunes his guitar as the band's cranking behind him. Like the band's da da da. He's like ba ba da da da. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, there's no way this guy's old. He's tuning his guitar. What the fuck is going on here? He can't hang with these guys. And then BB plays one fucking note and blew away the whole band. It was just like, it's like, holy shit, this is like, this is like the Blues Brothers scene in the church where do you see the light, and stuff like that. And, I'm just sitting there. I just remember looking at my dad. My dad's just like grinning and stuff like that. And he took me to so many great shows. But that was the one. And that's, I'm pretty sure that we listened to a lot of BB, and I'm like, you gotta belt it out like BB. And that, I remember looking at you too that time. And that was like the first time, like he got, what I was saying. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like the spirit got in me. It was just like, and I remember looking over and you just had like this kind of like look of like shock, but also approval. And I'm like, that's what he means. And from that point on, it was just like, the neural pathways, it clicked and it was like, okay, now I get it. But yeah, I forgot all about that till just now. That was at Gerard's grad party. But so that was Gerard. And then, we played his going away party.
Yep.
And then you had told me the other day that, I forgot this, then you had to hop in a car and move him right after that.
I don't remember if it was the next day but it was really close. After that, he asked me to move him down to Austin, Texas. He'd gotten a job. I don't remember doing what, bartending, maybe something like that. Or he had a prospective job in Austin, Texas, and was moving there. And I had my old red station wagon at the time. And he asked me, hey, can you drive me down? I'm like, sure. When you're young, 22 years old, and you're like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. So we loaded up sometime after the show. I think it was like, Tuesday or something. I don't remember exactly, but no, it would have been, we were playing at Hooligans at this time, because I remember this. It's hilarious, the story. I remember, I think we played like a Thursday at Hooligans. It might have been one of our first Hooligans shows. I'm not 100% sure. And then like the next day I picked him up, we loaded up my car and we head for Austin. And we ended up staying in Dallas first, I think. I don't know why. We didn't have cell phones like we say 100 times, but two funny stories that I can tell in this podcast is one was a crazy story because we were like north of Dallas on I-35 and I was passing somebody in my car filled with, it was literally filled to the roof with anything, it was a station wagon. So we folded down the seats and, we used to use this car to transport them huge speakers that we had for gigs, and we could fit everything in there. It was great. And so I'm in the left lane going as fast as probably faster than was allowed. And I blew a front tire in my car. And I'll never forget it because I'm like, I started swerving and somehow kept it, kept from having an accident. And we came to stop. And luckily some guy like saw it. I think he saw it happen. And he had a pickup and he stopped behind us and put on his blinkers and kind of helped with traffic. And, he's like, hey, do you guys have a spare tire? And I didn't have a spare tire in that car. And Mike looks over across the ongoing traffic lane on the other side. And there's like a tire shop or a mechanic shop or something like that. Yeah. And so he's like, hey, can we go there? He's like, yeah, I'll give you, so we jacked up the car, they took the tire. We were off the road at not even a total of 1 hour from the time I blew the tire. It was just like, it was perfect, stars aligned, thing like that, and it was cool. We were in Austin, Texas. There's a couple other stories that are really funny, but I had to it was a Wednesday, and I had to drive back because we had to play Thursday at Hooligans in Eau Claire. And I will never forget because we were partying a little bit, and so we cut it short so I could leave early the next day because I had to get back. We had a show, and I made it back to Eau Claire from Austin, Texas, in 19 hours. And
it's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a young man's game. It's not something you could probably do anymore.
I would die if I had to do it now, but it's a story I can tell. And the funniest thing is, I got pulled over, and I was shitting bricks because I was doing about 90 at the time. It was 70 was allowed on the interstate in Texas, and that was like the fastest in the country at the time. I think maybe Montana had they were rumored to not have a speed limit or something like that, but I hadn't gone out there yet. But anyways, I'm cruising. I'm going 90 in a 70, and there are not too many hills in this part of Texas. And I-35, I was north of Dallas, and then there's a hill, and I should have known, and there was get up on top of the hill, there's a little bridge, and there's a state trooper behind the bridge, and I didn't see, and I pass him, like, fuck. And so I pull over I was in the left lane, I pull the right lane, and he pulls out right away, and he follows me for like a mile, and then he finally turns on his lights. And I'm just like, oh fuck, he's gonna totally think I'm running drugs, because all I had was a duffel bag in my car of the shit I had, my clothes, and that was it. I didn't have any contraband, so I wasn't worried. But I'm like, he's gonna search my car for sure. And I'm just like, I'm the whole time I'm like, just Ryan, don't say anything stupid and end up in a Texas jail. And the guy comes up, and he looked the quintessential Texas state trooper. He had the Texas, he had the hat, he had the mirrored shades and stuff like that. He looked kind of like Boomhauer from, do you remember that?
Family Guy.
Yeah, the Family Guy. That he looked like no, that was Hank Hill. That wasn't Family Guy.
What? Oh, what?
What
was that show? What was that show with Hank Hill?
I forget what they called it.
Oh. I gotta look at it.
Grumpy Old Bastard Problem #1 today.
Yeah.
But he looked like a state trooper version of Boomhauer, and kind of talked like that too. And the thing, I had my window down. He walks up and he goes to me. His first words were, "Y'all didn't use your blinker." And I'm like, I'm being from the Midwest. We don't say y'all. Maybe today it's more accepted, but at this time I'm like, y'all, I'm alone here. Why are you using a plural thing? We have good school systems where we're from. Well, but I didn't comment on it. And he's like, y'all got to use your blinker even when the cops aren't around. I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, I passed you going 90 in a 70 and you're worried about me using my blinker. I'm like, sorry, sir. I forgot to use it.
I'm not from around these parts.
And so he asked for my license. I'm originally from Minnesota. I had a car with Minnesota license plates. My driver's license was from Minnesota. He looks at my license for an uncomfortably long amount of time. He's like, where are you going? I'm like, well, to just make it easier, I'm like, I'm going back to Minnesota. I didn't say I was going. I didn't want to explain that I lived in Eau Claire, went to school there. I thought that might be a little confusing, so I just said, I'm going back to my parents' place in Minnesota. It's like, ain't that by New York? And I'm just like going, you don't have to be a geography major, and stuff like that, but basic geography stuff, you should know about your own country. I'm like, this is what I said to him. Like, well, it's closer to New York than we are right now.
That's a good answer.
And I'm like going, oh fuck, I shouldn't have said that. And he looked at me kind of funny, and he was like, I could see like the wheels turning in his head, and I was just like, oh shit, Ryan, he's gonna fucking throw you in the slammer for that dumbass comment. And so he takes my license, goes back, and he's like 15 minutes in a squad car, and it's like, north of Dallas. It's July. It's fucking 100 degrees outside. I didn't have my car on, and so no air conditioning. It's hotter than hell in the sun. And I'm sure, he's like, this guy's going to melt here. He's from Minnesota and the Texas heat and stuff like that. And comes back after 15 minutes, gives me my license. He says, y'all use your blinker next time. Said nothing else and walked away. And I'm like going, am I free to go? And I didn't want to like drive away and then him like get pissed off and like want to, fucking arrest me again. So I waited another like 10 minutes and finally I'm like, fuck this, I'm going. So I drove away and that was that. And so I didn't end up in the Texas jail. So yeah, definitely Gerard was very instrumental in the formation of the band. I think more via influence and asking us to play at his grad party and then at his last night at the Grand Illusion, the show that we played there.
And that was, you kind of alluded to it, like he took you and like Ekis under his wing.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think that was a really good support group that we had.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As you showed in those photos, like the Statesmen would come to our shows.
Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
I think they spread the word for us. Like they were a good, kind of ground crew, if you will, that were running around telling people about us. Like I think they really helped with
we had a lot of groups of people when you really think about it. The Statesman was probably the biggest and most well known, but we had other groups of people like you alluded to last time you worked at the Eau Claire Academy, and that there was actually a lot of employees that would come to our show. I alluded to my sister Molly worked with you at the academy, and like she would be there and she would be dancing with Brady, I remember, to the funk stuff. And and so you had the these people from Eau Claire, the Eau Claire Academy that would come out. You had the Statesmen that would come out, and then we got relatively quickly, we got imbued into the community, and got people from the community involved that would come out as well.
Yeah, we had a nice eclectic mix, and it would keep growing. And later on, I'm sure we'll talk about like those shows we would have with just so many different genres of music, and that was one of the cool things that it wasn't just a blues crowd that would come. Like we had so many different people that would come and check out our music, and it was really cool. And yeah, it was we touched on it last time. It was like the cusp of the growth of the Eau Claire music scene.
Yeah.
And you had Caleb and Ben Shaw and then us, and suddenly like there was a group of bands, Touches Automatic and some of those bands that were like, it was just a really eclectic scene that was starting to sprout up.
Oh yeah.
So that's a little bit about Mike Gerard, and he played a big role, I think, in the formation of the band, and really a lot of great people that would come and support us, in part because of Gerard and the Statesmen, and that gives you, I think we did a nice job there of filling in some gaps. The second episode we touched base about the name, but it gives you a sense of how the name came to be.
Yeah,
and we had to change it later, which we'll get into in future episodes. But at least for the first, years, I mean, it was the Crawlin Kingsnakes, and we'll talk a little more about, that had to change later. And then, we filled in the gaps on the early formation, the early years, the early personnel, with Nick Pettis first, and then Aaron Bray, and then Hearrington, and that kind of rounded out our first iteration of the Crawlin Kingsnakes. So, yeah.
And the two important people as well, Leah Horne, she was always there with us, and Ron Malecki. They were both very important in the foundation time of the Kingsnakes. Or Crawlin Kingsnakes.
Take it easy, baby, you don't fool yourself.
All right. Well, that takes us to our normal kind of closing segment, and kind of a creative corner, if you will, what we've been listening to and what we're currently working on. So, Ryan, what have you been listening to lately?
Well, I brought some more show and tell.
All right. Got all kinds of surprises today.
And so this isn't a surprise. I brought the book that is the world record for me of the longest book I've ever read. Not in the length of the book, but the longest it's taking me is this Bob Dylan book, which I told my dad. It was really funny. I brought this with me this summer when I went to Minnesota. It's a hardcover book, so it's kind of heavy. And I still didn't finish it. I still got, like, you can see, I still got like a little sliver, probably. Like,
Yeah.
But what this is The Philosophy of Modern Song by Bob Dylan. And I love this book, even though I haven't finished it yet. And he writes about, I think, 50 or 60 songs. Have you read this?
No. Actually, when you and I started the conversation back in July, which led to this podcast and us working together, you had mentioned that book, and I have not read it. I have his first book, but I have not read that one.
This is really cool because he writes an essay about, what I'll do is I'll just list off a couple songs that he talks about. He takes a song and he writes a short essay about the song. And some of it is kind of, it's Bob Dylan. Song Detroit City, Pump It Up, Here, There Stands the Glass, Willie the Wandering Gypsy and Me, Tutti Frutti, Money Money, My Generation, Jesse James, Poor Little Fool, Key to the Highway, My Prayer, Blue Suede Shoes, Midnight Rider, Your Cheating Heart, Come on my house, Don't Take Your Guns to Town, A Certain Girl, I've Always Been Crazy, Witchy Woman, Big Boss Man. And it's, I won't read anything in here, any excerpts, because it's, I'll let you go out and get it. It's good stuff. It's really funny because my dad just texted me about maybe 2 weeks ago. He's like, he got this as an audiobook, and I texted back, well, hopefully somebody else other than Bob Dylan reads this to you so you can understand it. But it was funny because Adrian and I, that was one topic. One thing we both agree on is that we don't get Bob Dylan.
Your timing is impeccable because just yesterday I was in my office here, trying to straighten up the office post-holiday, and I put on a Bob Dylan playlist. And there were a few tunes. I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. But I mean, it was like a Rolling Stone and, some of that early stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we could probably dedicate a whole episode to just trying to understand Dylan. I get it, but I don't at the same time. And there's a part of me that wants to explore it more. You mentioned that book. I have his first book right behind me on the bookshelf, and I've started it countless times. And it's not that it's bad. I just, for whatever reason, get distracted. And yeah, it's crazy. He's clearly an American icon. Yeah. And I'm not knocking him. It's just, I haven't invested enough time, I think, to fully get it.
Yeah. Maybe we need some help from somebody outside here of our circle to tell us why Bob Dylan is so important.
I was thinking about
for me
that
personally, because it's like there's a couple songs. I mean, I realize that he writes great lyrics, but I just don't. I can think of other songwriters that write better.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. Bob Dylan, I was thinking about this yesterday when I was listening, and maybe I knew somehow you were going to bring this up. And I swear to God, to the listeners, watchers out there, we didn't. I mean, we talked about Dylan for months, but I didn't know.
But that was in the summer, though.
Yeah, but I didn't know you were going to bring that book today. But just yesterday, I was listening to it, and I started thinking, okay, well, when did I really first hear Dylan? And there was a movie called Dogfight, which I'd be shocked if anyone knows this. It was an obscure River Phoenix. It's a River Phoenix movie. It was from 1991 or something, or 1990. And he was basically, it's about a Marine that's about to be shipped off to Vietnam. And the night before, he's out on the town and finds love. And there's a Dylan song, Don't Think Twice, It's All Right. And I loved that song.
That's a good song. That's a really good song.
And then later, Clapton covered it for Bob Dylan's birthday, 60th birthday. There's a double CD album that I used to have. And Don't Think Twice, It's All Right was on there. So that was my introduction to Dylan, and so I bought some greatest hits, and I appreciated it, but it didn't move me. Yeah, the one album.
That's kind of the way I feel too. I mean, I'm not saying I realize the genius of his lyrics. What I'm saying is that it's just not something where I'm it's like I listen to it and I'm not blown away. By Dylan.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to talk here in a little bit about an artist that, I mean, I think you tell me if you agree. There's artists that in our lifetime we've listened to, and it's just oh my goodness, it changes your world.
Absolutely.
And Stevie Ray Vaughan was one for both of us, I think. Sinatra was one for me. But Dylan doesn't do that. Now, His album "Time Out of Mind" is
Great album.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And back when the Kingsnakes started, I think that album came out, and I used to listen to that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got a blues feel to it, and I think that's why I was drawn to it.
We listen to
own
that at
that
the GI
album.
all the time too.
Yep, GI. I remember that used to be on the jukebox at Ray's, and whenever we'd go to Ray's and get the hot beefs and the
hot beefs.
You used to drink 10 pitchers and get the free T-shirt, which really wasn't free because you just spent a shit ton of money to get that T-shirt. But
it was pretty affordable at Ray's.
Yeah, but I used to always put that album on the jukebox when I was there. So I mean, it's not like we both agree. Like we see why he's influential, but it just doesn't move us in the same way. And
yeah.
What else you got? All right, so
I, as you know, I love Emmylou Harris, and I don't know, I got this last week. I got a vinyl copy of Luxury Liner, which I believe is like what I'm old and I can't read the title. 1976, 1977. It's like her seminal record with the hot band. And I got it because of the song Tulsa Queen's on it, but Luxury Liner's on it. She covered Poncho and Lefty.
Oh, wow.
Before Willie and Merle covered it. And because of Emmylou Harris, they heard Poncho and Lefty the first time. And she introduced the world to Poncho and Lefty from Townes Van Zandt. It's got some other great songs. It's got that she does a cover of C'est la vie, You Never Can Tell from Chuck Berry.
Mm-hmm.
Hello Stranger, which is a Graham Parsons song, which I've kind of been into Graham Parsons recently. And we'll talk about that, not in this podcast, but later. And then Tulsa Queen, which she wrote with Rodney Crowell. And,
it's funny. Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Rodney Crowell.
Killer album. Albert Lee is the guitar player. Hank DeVito plays steel. Rodney Crowell plays, I think, a rhythm guitar in a couple of tracks, and maybe, I don't know, mandolin or something like that. But just a killer album, and it sounds great in vinyl. Definitely check it out.
So, I don't know if you remember this. I wish I still had it. In the basement of the House of Rock, do you remember the Emmylou Harris poster that Steve had down there?
Yeah. Oh.
I used to be obsessed with that poster. And when the House of Rock closed, I asked Steve if I could have it, and he gave it to me. And it was in pretty rough shape already. And I was going to move at one point, and it was pretty banged up, and I didn't keep it. But I found since the photo from, I think it was an album cover, but it was something about that picture. I always thought I thought she was hot, but I mean, like, it was like,
obviously.
I used to go down to the House of Rock to warm up in the basement. I would go down to the basement to warm up my voice, and I would always see that poster down there.
Yep.
I always see that poster. Yeah. All right. Well, that's all good stuff. You got anything else?
Not at the moment. I'm working on a couple songs. I kind of, the week before Christmas, for music teachers, always, hell. But I kind of came back. I got some really, really, basic ideas at the moment that are kind of cooking in the, cooking a little bit, simmering a little bit and working on, but nothing to write home to mom about. Gotcha.
Well, so I've still been, the Todd Schneider thing, it's really been lingering. I was over the last few weeks, I've been listening to that. But that led to, I touched on this previously, John Prine.
Yeah.
And I've made a concerted effort the last few weeks to listen to John Prine. And I had one of those holy crap moments. Like I was sitting there, I was in the kitchen cleaning up dishes, whatever. And I just had a live album on, and I just literally stopped several times and just like, wow, like, why have I never given this guy more attention? And so I've been listening to a ton of John Prine.
Me too.
And like we were just saying, like that's one of those people like Dylan. I get it, but like John Prine, it's like, wow, this is really impactful, like songwriting and like it was. So I've listened to a ton of John Prine the last few weeks.
And Dylan loves John Prine.
Yes. I think everyone loves John Prine. Honestly, like there's so many really well-known artists that just sing his praises. And
Dylan is really a big John Prine fan. I've been. We both, I talked about a New Year's resolution of, listening to more John Prine. and we both kind of jumped the gun and didn't wait for the new year because
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
listening to John Prine as well. I went down the other night, Christmas Eve night late. I went down a 2-hour rabbit hole on YouTube with John Prine and listening to interviews, cool stuff. Funny guy, hilarious. He was hilarious. Always did always had like crazy adventures.
Yeah.
And I think, in some way we can relate to a lot of the way he kind of did stuff, because we never had just a show that it was just a show.
Yeah.
There's always something that was going on.
There always was something. And so, yeah, I've been listening to a lot of John Prine. I got a few of
What's your favorite that new song or songs that like you've heard, you've listened to where you're like, maybe you've heard it before, but you're just like, you're really impacted right now by this song or these songs?
Are you talking about John Prine?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't really listen to much before, so I didn't really have a frame of reference. And just
Okay.
honestly, there hasn't been a thing that I've listened to that I'm like, oh, this isn't that great. Like everything, like it's beautiful, beautiful music. It's just, and the wit behind it, like the songwriting, the
Yep.
intelligence behind it. Like there's not a bad song that I've heard yet. That live album I sent you, just I thought was it captured like a lot
Yeah.
of his,
Yeah.
like the hello in there, and is it My Mexican House? Was that one? I think is the title of the song, where it's just like, wow, this is so. And I literally stopped a few times. I'm like, this is one of those artists, like a Stevie Ray Vaughan, like a Frank Sinatra, that like
Yeah.
is life changing. It really is.
Definitely. I have to like read about how many albums he's released because I don't even know. I've always
Yeah, I
kind of
don't
like,
either.
heard a song and like, oh man, and I got to listen to that song. And, we used to have mixtapes, remember? And then later
yeah.
they were, burned CDs of, stuff. And like people would just like, make a mixtape or then a burned CD and there'd be like one song from an artist. And that's how I got into John Prine is like, I can't remember, probably Ron Malecki, or my cousin Noel, made me a mixtape. And
you had an album of his, I remember.
Yeah,
in your collection.
that was because this song, whoever sent me the song was on from this album. That's why I bought the album.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the album you had. I remember what it looks like.
Well, I'm pretty sure I bought it because I wanted to learn Illegal Smile because I used to do that one. I used to do that one back in the days when I'd be playing solo shows down at Clancys.
Yeah, Diamonds in the Rough. Diamonds in the Rough is the album I remember.
Great album
you had. Yeah. I just really I can tell you for a while I'm gonna be listening to John Prine stuff because it's
good stuff. It's just great stuff.
And this is what I do when I'm into a topic. I'll go down the rabbit hole. So I've already gotten a couple audiobooks of about John Prine.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't started yet, but yeah, he's one of those guys. You and I've talked about this. It's just like intimidating in some respects for me, at least. That songwriting. I'm like, how do you get that good? Like it's mind blowing.
Yeah, he had a gift. Because we've talked about the songwriters that I've been on a big Guy Clark thing in the last I'd say more than 5 years now, and we talked about this. Guy Clark has influenced me to be more. How do you
deliberate?
Describe it? Yeah, deliberate. That's
deliberate.
The way. Yeah, because Adrian and I both talked about this. We used to be like, we had an idea and boom, it was there, and then we had a song. And I've been trying to kind of work on ideas longer with varying levels of success, I might say. But because Guy Clark was notorious that he would work on stuff for years. And then, finally he deemed it was finished and put it out. And I kind of, at first I got into songwriting because he was for me a songwriter that just blew my mind. I was listening to him for years through people like Lyle Lovett, and I didn't even know it, and people were covering his stuff because, anybody who's a musician that's heard his stuff knows he's one of the best songwriters America's ever had. And so for me, that's why, when I hear John Prine, I think they were both, craftsmen of a song. in
That's a
the
good way
way
to put
that
it.
I think they worked on something like, a master craftsman, would like make, a boat or something like that, where you got, it's like, the wood's good, but it might need just a little bit extra work before you can, form it into the part of the boat or whatever. I don't know much about boats, but bad section. I just hope they float when I'm on them. But yeah, and so that's one. I guess maybe that's something with age and patience, where you go like, okay, I won't give up on an idea, and that's what I've been trying to do songwriting wise. And
I've
see the
definitely noticed that.
fruition for sure. We got stuff coming up together. We talked about last time. The next song we're going to be working on is 10 Feet Tall and Bulletproof. That one I would say is not exactly an example of deliberate work that came out pretty quickly, but I got some other stuff that I've been working on that I've shared with you, that you've seen kind of my process of how I've been doing that. And I think John Prine is also a great example of somebody who just is the craftsman of a song. And it's great to hear.
It really is. And it's just really so powerful. I can't get over it. Like, just, yeah. And so outside of John Prine, Raul Malo passed away from, and so
Mavericks.
Again, it's just Mavericks. It's been a rough end of the year. Todd Schneider and D'Angelo and Raul Malo. So I've been listening to some of his stuff. He's just had such a beautiful voice, and the thing more even than his songwriting and his voice was just seemed like he was a good guy, and a lot of people commenting about how he just was such one of those spirits that you came in contact with. He was just a really positive person. And then I just stumbled across this the other day. I didn't even know this was a thing. A new Willie Nelson album of Merle Haggard songs just came out in November. And I stumbled across that, and I've been listening to that a little bit.
And that
led me. It's so good. I mean, Willie Nelson's 92 now, and he finds a way to keep. I mean, speaking of how many albums somebody's put out, like that man has put out so many albums. I had 150 maybe. I mean, it's just insane. So last night I sat up late. I found an article in the New Yorker about Willie Nelson. It just came out, and it was very interesting. It's called "How Willie Nelson Sees America," and it talked about his career, but his current tour, and how he's still finding a way to stay on the road at 92. It's a really good article. But yeah, he and from this article I learned this, and I haven't listened yet because it was just last night. He also put out an album of Rodney Crowell songs earlier this year.
Really?
In April of 2025, Willie Nelson released an album of Rodney Crowell songs. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out.
I know what I got to do this evening.
Yeah. So that's been my listening stuff is the Prine, John Prine, I'm sorry, and then Raul Malo, and then that Willie Nelson Merle Haggard album.
I got to listen to that.
I think you'll like it.
Awesome.
I think you'll like it.
Awesome.
And then you had mentioned 10 Feet Tall and Bulletproof. We're going to start working on that in the new year. I got a song idea the other day called Songwriting Man that, it was one of those ones that did come to me fast. But so I sent you that idea, and at some point, hopefully we'll work on that. Just to wrap it up, like you and I touched on this, it's weird how the creative process works because I had this drought for a while where it's just like I wasn't hearing any ideas, and then all of a sudden, boom,
that happens.
And this popped out in like 15 minutes, and I've been getting more. It reminds me of when I recorded my solo album. Just I had a stretch with just little snippets of song ideas that start floating in there. So hopefully I'm on the cusp of some creative stuff coming.
Yeah, I think what you need to break a drought is something fast to open the floodgates.
That's a good point.
Because I had that too. I've had that too a number of times where I had maybe a drought or a time where I just kind of moved a little away from music. And then to get back in, it was like always a song that I wrote, and it was usually a fast idea. It doesn't mean it's the best song in the world, just means it's could be one of those songs that you write that gets you back into the creative flow. And I was just I can describe some of the lyrics that you wrote this morning. I wrote about Todd Snyder trying to find Lukenbach, Texas, and that and so I got that's kind of the direction I'm going to go for the song.
What's that line? What fuck Lukenbach, drink
Drink
with
with
us.
Yeah, that's that live album that we talked about
Yeah.
last time. And
Yeah.
the old Miss Virgie, I've listened to that song probably about 10 times since we recorded the last podcast. And that story about trying to find Lukenbach, Texas, and then he wrote the song Devil's Backbone Tavern.
Yeah.
And it's just the story's as good as the song, if not better. But short version, he and his buddies are trying to find Lukenbach, Texas, to go play a show there, and they couldn't find it. And then so they walked in this one place, and this old lady's like 80 years old, and she's like, "Fuck Lukenbach's, come drink with us." And so he's like, "So we did." Wrote the song. Great story. That live album is so great. I've listened to that a couple times too. Definitely check it out. We're definitely Todd Snider fans, and we don't want to go down the road of talking about his problems he's had. There you can find information about that shit other places, but his stuff is so good. And he was also a big fan of John Prine. John Prine also took him under his wing when Todd Snider was young. So
he was on John Prine's label, I think. For a while.
Boy. Yeah.
Talk about. I mean, he was on Jimmy Buffett's label and then John Prine's label, and I mean, it's sad his passing, but it reawakened, I think, for both of us the appreciation of Todd Snider's work, and then now it's leading us to John Prine and some other things. So yeah.
And the last thing I have a rant that I got to rant about.
Oh, okay.
I know that Facebook and Instagram, we don't have to use these things, but can people please stop creating incorrect AI content about people? I saw 2 things in the last fucking week about Guy Clark, where one of them was Dublin Blues. And it was one of those things where they had like a picture of a guy that kind of looked like Guy Clark, but it wasn't Guy Clark. Have you ever seen these?
Well, I've not this one, but I've seen a lot. Like the one that kills me is where they'll show like Bob Dylan was moved to tears, and they'll show Bob Dylan crying and he's like in the crowd at like a Neil Young concert. It's like, Bob Dylan was not at a Neil Young concert crying in the audience. Like, really?
but anyways, this was Dublin Blues in which I've covered. I love the song. It's on my YouTube channel, and I think it's one of my favorite songs of all time. And in the AI description, it was so wonderfully written. And then it talks about, and when Guy Clark sings blah, 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 these lyrics, the lyrics aren't even in the fucking song. And it's just like, it's all AI content. Why do people create this shit and put it out? And then the other one was yesterday. I don't know if you've seen any of these videos. There's a couple different videos out. And the Guy Clark is sitting with his dobro or player, or some slide guitar player, and then Susanna Clark's sitting. It's hard to see her sometimes because she's kind of behind Guy. And then they have this huge oil lamp in the middle, and it's a huge table, and there's all these like liquor and wine bottles. And then Rodney Crowell's in the back, and then a really young Steve Earle sings "Mercenary Man" in one of the cuts, or something with. Is that the right?
I
fucking
think so.
Genius song.
Or Bob, is it Bob McCullough or something? I know. Yeah.
But there's like 3 or 4 songs, 3 or 4 clips I've seen. And, they're obviously, let's just say they're obviously partaking in a lot of different substances and enjoying, numerous different libations. And yesterday or today, this morning, I forget, they made they used the real picture, but it was something about like a guy's song, like Mountain Morning or something like that. It's not even one of his best songs. And as in the AI description, they're talking about, and when Guy here takes a drink of his coffee and he sings about the cold mountain water and stuff like this. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? There's a big, huge bottle of Jack Daniels right in the middle, and they're all just wasted in this thing. It's like, they aren't drinking coffee there, And so I'm like, who creates this shit and why? Because
I don't know.
The real story of what they were doing there is way better than what AI created.
Yeah.
But, there's all these things. There's all these pictures of Todd Snider that aren't Todd Snider, but they kind of look like him. Why?
Yeah, I
Can
don't know.
somebody answer that for me?
I don't know. Other than there's a lot of gullible people that believe it, and I've seen family members, friends buy into that, and I've had to reach out a few times and be like, "That's not real." Like, like they'll post something, and it's like, "What? That's not real." Like but that's scary if you think about AI is getting pretty good, and it's like you really have to be careful. But it's
I'm not
insane.
I'm not anti-AI, but I'm just like, why do people you have to tell AI to create this.
Yeah,
AI is
I
not just going to go, okay, I'm going to create a story about Guy Clark, you know, and it's just like somebody has to tell AI to create this and then they post it. Are they just looking for like clicks?
Probably, and I don't know. I've had that thought a lot recently. Like, what's it going to take for their? I mean, obviously, we're going to have a breaking point where there's going to have to be something to legislate this. Like, because you go on social media and it's like every other post is some AI crap like you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about, and it's like it, it, it it's only a matter of time before it creates a real problem. Like I think about it with politics, like
Well, it already has with politics.
but I mean, I'm talking like a really severe situation, like heaven forbid somebody gets hurt or something, like where it's like I think about going to war, like somebody posts something and thinking it's real, and it's like it's crazy how bad it's getting. And to your point, like
Yeah.
that's it frustrates you and I as musicians, and I think we have a love of the history of these things. And so, like you're obviously upset because it's like it's not telling even the real story, which is, as you said, cooler anyway. Like,
Yeah,
if you're
the
going to
real
tell a
story.
story, just
Because like in this, like I've seen the 3 or 4 of these videos of this, they're sitting around this table and it's obviously, 4
I
in the
think that's from
morning or something
Heartworn
like that.
Highways, that documentary.
Some of
Heartworn
it's on
Highways,
Heartworn Highways for
yeah.
sure. But I don't know if they filmed it just for Heartworn Highways or that was filmed and then they put it on there, it would be really cool if the people from Heartworn Highways contacted us
Yeah.
and told us the story. But I would just like to know the story just for me because I'm a fan.
Yeah.
But I'm just like wondering, like, why the hell would anybody create that, to put it out there when like the real story, like they're obviously on a couple of we'll see extracurricular activities you can see in the photos in the
Yeah.
videos and stuff like that. And like I saw one there's a picture Susanna was holding her wine glass up that's broken, she's still drinking wine. The side of the wine glass, and it's just like they were not drinking coffee there, and there was no cool mountain streams. It was probably in Nashville, Texas, and East Nashville in their house at the time, or maybe in Austin, Texas, or something. I don't know, but it's just like why
I don't know. It's insane, and I mean, I guess this makes us sound like grumpy old men, but it's like thank God that wasn't around when we were younger. Like, we had a pure element to what we were doing. And I mean, make it full circle to what we were talking about, like the posters, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Like we literally had to have somebody like hand draw some shit for us and like tape, cut and paste stuff to make a poster. And now you can literally just like, well, actually, we should probably own this. Like the logo we created for this. We used AI for that to help us create the logo. And so there's obviously good applications for it.
No, I'm not a Luddite. I'm not somebody that says we shouldn't have any AI. I use it because I suck at anything having to do with art. And so I use it for like covers for songs that I write and I release, and we used it for the logo. And if I had to draw it, my son, who's 3.5, can draw it a lot better than I can. So, and probably look cooler. And so I use it. I'm not saying we shouldn't use it. I'm just saying I don't understand like
why people make
content creation when it's like, like when, I want to hear the real story about Todd Snyder or about Guy Clark or, Townes Van Zandt or John Prine or Bob Dylan. Pretty sure Bob Dylan wasn't, crying in the corner of a concert of anybody.
No. If Bob Dylan was at a concert, he wasn't out in the audience. The one I saw was like, it was like Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen with their arm around each other at a Neil Young concert, crying in the audience. They were so moved to tears by his performance. God. And it's like, but there's people that believe that. Like they'll repost it and be like, oh my God, I wish I was there. And it's like, guys, that's not real.
It's not real.
And so
Jesus.
somehow we have to teach people and that speaks to the larger issue in our politics, because people will just like confirmation bias. They're looking for whatever they already
Gullible.
think.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. And so they're like, they see that and they're like, oh, that's gotta be real. It's on the internet. It's like, come on, guys. Like, seriously.
We were taught to think critically and be like, is this real? Let's check it out.
But that's gone.
It's gone.
That's gone. It's so gone. And that's
Lazy
why
fucking bastards.
That's partly why where we're at today with politics, and that is like people will buy into anything without any critical thinking to stop. And like now, it's just a common practice. I see something, I'll Google it first and see, like, is this real?
Oh yeah. Oh.
Because I mean, like I said, family, friends that I see just post something, and it's like, that's clearly not true. Like, why are you like that? Just take a moment and look. But they don't want to, because they want, something to
Confirmation
confirm.
bias. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you brought that up, and we'll have to talk about this in a later episode about AI creeping into the creation of music now.
I might start taking screenshots, because I was just like, what the fuck? I mean, they talk with the Dublin Blues one, and when Guy Clark I forget the line, I should have written it down. But it's like the line's not even in the fucking song.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's obviously that they just saw AI just saw Dublin Blues, and they're writing about something, like being, and I don't know, can't remember what it was, but it wasn't in the song. And it's just like, what the fuck? What's wrong with this world?
Well, I feel
that's
like
grumpy old bastard shit right there.
That is grumpy old bastard. I was just going to say, I feel like we're last of a dying breed. Like, I feel like there's few people that have the critical thinking to just even take a moment and be like, let's look into that,
Exactly. Unfortunately, you are right.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up, and that was that was a good glimpse into grumpy old bastardom. Folks, you're going to see more of that in coming episodes, because we're going to unleash. We're letting it all hang out. That's the beauty of getting older, is you can kind of
I always
say
forget
more.
how to do a screenshot.
Well, so this has been Adrian and Ryan Stories to Tell, episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, just some of the early formation of the Kingsnakes, and we'll keep that rolling for, we don't know how many episodes. That's the beauty, and actually you had commented on this, and we didn't talk about it at the top, but the organic flow of this is what's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, just to give people a glimpse, inner workings, like, I put together a very rough frame, a little outline before every episode, just to kind of guide us. But like, it goes out the window usually pretty early on. Like, and that's a good thing though. Like, second episode, like, we just started connecting dots that we hadn't thought about, and we went with it.
Exactly.
And then same here. Like, we started talking, and we probably got halfway through this outline that I had laid out. And so that's really one of the things that we're hoping people will respond to, is just the organic flow. And that's also, as you said, Ryan, like, if people have things, share them with us, because we'll definitely use them. We're going to have guests in future episodes.
Yeah.
We want this to be a organic flow and a community where people can share ideas, get creative, and just remember and reminisce. In essence, to avoid some of this stuff we're talking about, like the AI and the things that, the critical thinking and that are becoming a bygone era. Like, we want to try to like fight that, I think, and just keep that conversation going and the creativity. So So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks. And remember, if you got something to share, get in touch with us, and we'll definitely include this in a future podcast. We're always looking for pictures. We're always looking for, anything, posters, stuff like that. And, contact us. We'd love to hear from you.
And all the contact info will be in the description, as far as our email and the social media pages, and anything we post, we promise will be legit and not AI bullshit.
Except our logo.
Except our logo. But it's a cool logo. All right, all. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
All right. So, see you next time.